So let's ask you a question. Have you ever lost something that usually happens like with my glasses? Because I will be looking everywhere for them and then I'll be running around my house saying like, and has everybody seen my glasses? And then it turns out that glasses were top on my head. So this reminds me an old saying that my father used to tell me that if it was a snake, it would have bit me because it was right in front of me. That's the same concept here with a different reconnaissance technique. So when it comes to reconnaissance, some of the data that you can actually gather, it will be surprisingly easy how it is to find, and in fact there's a lot of information that can be found through these online services that we are probably using. So what we are going to be talking about in this lecture is that how can you find and where? Well, we can find a quite bit of social sources that will also be able to pull up the additional information about our targeted from financial sources as well as competitive analysis. Many of you may be thinking how the credit you gonna do that and how would the competitive analysis helping out. Trust me, I'm gonna show you. Well, also get into it, just a little bit of social engineering. We got a whole separated lecture about this, and so give you a 1,000-foot view of it, and then we'll look another source and we'll probably don't think about that expose quite a bit of about us, and that is email. So another source that you can find a pull information on a target that could be both financial and competitive analysis data. Now when it comes to financial service, you can utilize out there. So with that one, and we often talk about following the money. So there are several sites out there. Well, I'm gonna focus on some of the most popular ones, but obviously we've got both like Yahoo and Google Finances, and there is a other one that I think is got on there as well, which is like MSNBC. But there are several of out there which provide service that gives you information such as the market value and company share information about their competitors and the company profile. So as an individual that may have been hired to as something like that, one of this you would want to look is what information is being exposed on these sites about the company. Does it expose too much? Does it show any types of project what the company is working on? Also, what are some of the trends that are happening within the company or within the industry, as well as what are the competitors up to. In fact, there is a significant little thing that we can go through and do, that is pretend like we are going to be a competitor to pull information about a particular target. As far as another opportunity we have, like we can use email alerts to send any of the updates when they use any of the information of these financial sites that go through and get updated. For example, Microsoft, if they post something about new like HoloLens or Google Lens or something like that, will show up in your mail. And stopping Gmail, you obviously want to be notified of those types of things, or I should say you could use notification or even use phone alerts. So we will have to register in the air for those services, but it's a good way of keeping in touch of what's going on with the company. Now I mentioned before that we can go through and use competitive analysis, where I can go through and say, yeah, I would like to find out more information about my competitor, and there is several companies out there that provide those services, and again attackers will utilize those resources. So they find out when did WANCOP actually begin and how did it begin, What was the route when it started off? It was in charge back then on, or who's in charge. So currently we would also able to find out things like where they currently located, and of course what is their plan. A lot of these companies not just only provide analysis of their competitors, but they might also show you their product and their product of their analyzed data, who is their customers and who are their suppliers. But what's kind of interesting is that this company typically use the same technique that we are talking about right now to go together that information. And just like in charge, when you have some money for it, there is a couple of companies that are probably the more popular one out there, and there is a flood, and there is a Wall Street transcript as well as market. So I think market watches probably are one of the more branded service that's out there, and again that they are using the same thing that, or should say the same technique that we are utilizing. So we are not doing anything wrong at this point. This is very very passive, but we are gonna stop to go through and give you a nice little report. And the very in this show that the press releases or all their press releases is a annual report, and they will look at their patient trademarks catalog of their product customer and vendor interviews. So they will also go through and look the companies and website and employments ads. I mean, they basically go out and do all of these for you, and then again is there nothing too illegal about that. So let's talk about using communication to do some reconnaissance. I told you earlier that we will take a look at about this, just a kind of a high level view in here, but the concept here is the human hacking. So remember our definition of hacking is to get a device, or in this case a human, to do something outside of what it was designed to do. Or by default we are not designed to give up personal information. We know that that's wrong, and we get hacked all the time into exposing information about ourselves, or another way that they can hack. A human is what they are referred to as gaining confidence as a target. So there is a great documentary that talked about and McAfee back in a day. It's called Edge Commerce, and it's about like 45 minutes. In fact, it's gonna assign that to you as homework. So you go and watch, and this was done several years ago. But one of the biggest social engineering or hacking schemes or scams that took place is the lady, I think she lived in Washington state, and based of the fact that she is gone to a genealogy website, the group of people portrayed themselves used as emotion, and that's typically what we do is we use emotion in human hacking or in social engineering. So they use the emotion, or then they related to her. She was actually from Europe, and they were trying to escape, and they needed money to get out from the predicament, and that said she lived in the United States. So she has a lot of money. Who live in the United States, I think, has a lot of money. So they built her over for $500,000. So you go through and watch the documentary. It's actually involved what we refer to as a great hat that goes out and try to help her to see what dangerous or what damages were caused again by just hacking a person. So how's this typically has been done? Well, we typically do it. So first of all, we can do like dumpster diving. And how they find out about this lady. So they didn't actually do dumpster diving for her. But dumpster diving is the technique where we go and and where we go and find out the information based of the what's in believe it or on trash cans. A great example in a backup day where Microsoft was under investigation by the Department of Justice about how they were implementing Internet Explorer. Microsystem actually that time hired some people to go dumpster dive at Microsoft location because trash is considered no longer property of the company. They actually pulled out some of the reports that showed that Microsoft was doing something that wasn't very nice. So that is definitely one way that we can hack human or do the social engineering set of things. We can also do it based of the eavesdropping. Now eavesdropping could be obviously just by listening or not just physically listening, you just know against the person, the cables next to us, he is dropping it via the email or digitally. Eavesdropping on individuals. We also by what they referred as shoulder surfing. This is where we watch people do things from behind. So I'm sure you have already seen great YouTube videos where somebody pranking someone that they are just behind them running around like they are all goofy, and then what then turn out they are acting all normal. I believe in United States there is several talk show hosts that have been contest to see who can do it the best. But as far as hacking to be concerned, I think I have mentioned this before. My friend think I am busy because I go to grocery store. I go to grocery somewhere that I swipe my debit card or credit card, and before I type in my PIN, I physically turn around and look to see if someone is around my here looking at me. So if somebody trying to shoulder surf, then shoulder surf can also involve digital, as we have seen before. When people use their cell phone to capture images, I am that very suspicious of a people that are on their cell phone that are right behind of me of a checkout line, because I don't know if they are really talking to somebody or they can just actually have a phone up on my ear, then camera facing me and recording my PIN number. And we also have the impersonation that I told you guys before. Trust me, you do not just win the Australian lottery or you are not. So it is not so. Let me finish my thought about goes another ADD moment which which is Citibank will never call me. As an example, Citibank will never call me and ask me to verify my password over the phone. The big thing that happened right now in scammers is calling people up saying that they are from Microsoft and they notified their machine is running poorly or slowly. Then they can actually go through and try to prove it by having them typing command that shows error, like I previously shows as event viewer on Windows, and they say we need to fix your machine, so we can help you to fix it in impersonation. So another great tool for gathering intelligence is via the email. So with email we are actually be able to go through do several things that we can track where an email is read, if it's been forwarded, like time that is spent reading it, like links visited, the type of several that use the OS receiver is using. So they are all kind of information. Now there is several third-party companies, both application and websites, that can help you pull out the information. So let me show you something in here. So this is the email header that I got from Thrifty Car Rental. This was just an email from Thrifty Car Rental talking. So it just give me an ad about some car rental stuffs and coming up when you see here. So if you look at the header information, this is on every email. A lot of people don't see this back became a few days that we didn't have Outlook to hide a lot of this technical information. This was listed in the beginning of your all emails. Now If you just hit and you just have to export it typically under the advanced setting, but look at what I can be from this email. So first of all, I can see who the email was sent to. As you can see, that's my email address. Then I can also go through and see the date. This is the date. I can also see where did it came from. As you can see, you can find where it came from, and you can see from the particular server there. I can also see the client's IP address, as you can see. Client's IP address. So look at that. There's that you want to know about Thraptis email server or one of them. There it right there. You can also look at the sender email. That meaning that it passed through before, then got to me, and it came from, as you can see, it came from Google. So I can also go through and take a look at the original sender email service name. So it originally came through email.thrapti.com. So we can also I can find these times which is interesting, and we can also take a look at the authentication system that being used by the sender. So again, a lot of information there, and several tools out there that could help you to tracking email, including a Polite email. So first one is Polite email. We also have another product that's called Email Lookup, that goes to do and scans the header for you. So if you want to track what's going on a particular piece of email, you can just use Email Tracker Pro. And I guess I should maybe just back it up a little bit here. Polite image is actually go through. So it's a tool that we use to Outlook, but it gives you a visual representation like a global map, and shows you all the different mail service that hop through. So it's really kind of interesting. So another application or tool you can use is Did They Read It. Again, you can see these are the tools that are used for good or for marketing purposes. If you send an email to, and you probably want to know if people read it, so this particular product will actually go through and obviously tell you if they read it. If they just deleted it right away, Read Notify, another great little tool that you can use to notifies you when your email is open up. So if it was redo or reopened, so if they re-forwarded it to someone else, and if so, who did they forward it to? This one is also got a nice little graphical interface. Who also have like Who Read Me. So it is the same types of tool of like Did They Read It, just to read me the email so well and then get notified. This one goes through and actually sends notification back to the sender, and when the recipient opens, it will opens it, and when they read it again, it does it without the knowledge of the recipient, or is completely invisible to them. There is also called Glog Analytic, which is another email tracking service that allows you to see what's happening to your email. After you send them, it goes through and gives you a little nice report. How many times the email or the email was printed, how many times it was forwarded. We also have like message tag, which is MSG message tag. It has nothing to do with Chinese for or missing anybody else, so jokes apart. This is again another tracking tool that will go through and tell you about the emails that have been opened and when they opened, if they actually read, and it add a little tracker of the traces tagged to it, then they report it back to the service. That obviously then that send you back some nice little report, as well as even you can set it up so you can get a text message tracer email in another tool that we can utilize, which is trace email, and that actually goes through and tries to locate the source of a IP of an email. So this is actually pretty much pretty good of a reconnaissance, so that you can or even go for your pen testing if you want to see which email or where the email came from. Now a lot of these service and tools cannot be tagged are forged email headers, but most of our email servers today actually will drop a email based off the reverse lookup. So typically what happens with email is that when it comes in, it says that the name of the email server this came from and what's the IP address of the header on it, and when it does look up the reverse lookup and to see those are still true statement, because most of the time they forge or spoofing the network or the email address, they won't match up. So and if it doesn't match up, then you will email server should drop it. And that's all about these email services.